there are two things that determine the cost of debt capital: the general level of interest rates in the economy and the risk of the firm that has issued the debt. The general level of interest rates will be constant for all firms in the same economy at the same time, and therefore it's only the difference in the degree of risk that determines the difference between the cost of debt capital for different firms. So how can we measure the cost of debt? The first method, which we dealt with in the previous module, is the yield to maturity approach. The second one, which we'll talk about here, is the debt rating approach. The yield to maturity approach can only be used if the firm's debt securities are traded in a liquid market, so that we can determine the fair price of the securities and from there calculate the yield which is determining that price. Often a firm's debt securities are not traded in a liquid market, and therefore an alternative approach is the debt rating approach. This involves comparing the firm with other firms of a similar risk, and assuming that if they have the same level of risk, their cost of capital should be the same. To use this approach, we need debt ratings. These are issued by companies such as Moody's, Standard & Poor's, and Fitch. This is an example of the ratings that they issue. There are a large number of different debt ratings, but I've grouped them here into three categories. The ones from AAA to, in the case of Standard & Poor's and Fitch, BBB- are called investment grade. They're reasonably safe investments. The next category are officially called speculative grade, but many people refer to them as junk bonds. This doesn't mean that they're worthless, it just means that there is a high probability of default, of not getting your money, but if you do, there will be a very large expected return. The last category, C in the case of Moody's and D for Standard & Poor's and Fitch, are reserved for firms that are actually in default, have not complied with the obligations of debt.